Balancing school, work, and life can seem very overwhelming. It can actually be overwhelming. But with the right strategies and tools in place, you can actually be able to do all of this without burning out. Let's get into the video. Hello everyone and welcome to I Know You Know, your one-stop knowledge sharing platform for all things careers, life after high school, as well as opportunities that are available to you. As you know, at I Know You Know, we want to give you the best possible tools for you to make an informed decision about your career and in order to execute successfully as well. And some of our viewers are in a phase of their life where they are working, they are juggling studies and work, and also wanting to have a social life. Really just trying to be human, because none of that is actually, out of the ordinary. It really is the human experience. But it can be so overwhelming that it can ultimately seem that it's impossible to do all of these things and still stay healthy. And that is what this video is all about. We really want to just chat about how one can balance this out. Feel free to share more tips on how you have managed to balance it out, because as you know, some people have to work while they study, and other people are already working but they want to study towards another career and they want to pivot their career, and so they end up studying and working at the same time. And of course, it's important to also have some sort of a social life while all of this is going on. So without any further ado, let's get into the very first tip. Alright, the very first thing is to prioritize and plan ahead. And luckily for us, there are so many resources that can assist us in doing this, whether it's like calendars or planners or whatever it is that you use, whether digitally or physically, you can be able to do that. What prioritizing and planning ahead allows you to do is to ensure that all the things that you need to do in maybe a week or something are set and locked into a plan. This will ensure that you actually get to do everything because you've actually allocated a time to it. But it also stops you from worrying about potentially forgetting to do something, because another thing that can end up making us feel overwhelmed is constantly thinking about, oh yes, I need to do that. Oh yes, I need to do that. Oh yes, I need to do that. You end up subconsciously worrying about all of these things that you need to do, and even worrying about potentially forgetting to do them. So one thing that definitely helps is for you to put everything out in a plan. Now, some people are different. I prefer to do a weekly plan and ensure that at the beginning of every week, I know what's coming up in the week and I plan. All my meetings are in place. All the time I want to block out to do work, that time is blocked out, and I know that, okay, from this time to this time I'm going to be working on this. From this time to this time I'm gonna go to gym. So I even plan things that are not necessarily work, but things I know are very important for me to maintain a balanced life. Things like, from this time to this time I want to call my family. I've also started doing that, and you were right, guys. It does help to be an organized adult. So make sure that you plan ahead and you prioritize things, or you organize things in order for you to have a clearer vision of what your week looks like. Now, like I said, other people are different. I prefer a weekly plan. Others prefer a monthly plan, where they know that, okay, in this month, these are things I want to achieve, and they plan accordingly. So whatever works for you, find that, but actually sit down, set goals, and prioritize things. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one. The next thing is to learn how to say no. Now, it's an innate human characteristic, if I can put it that way, to want to do everything and be everything to everyone. You want to show up for your family and your friends. You want to excel at your job. You want to excel at work. You want to join the sport. Like, now we're doing paddle. Let's go and do something. Let's swim. There's a lot of things going on. Let's go out and groove, or whatever the case might be. There are a lot of things that are going on in the world. But what's important to know and be comfortable with is that you don't need to be part of everything, guys. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to follow every trend. You don't need to, I don't know, guys. You don't need to be everything to everyone, and especially with how the world is set up now with social media, and just we know a lot. Like we know a lot. Like we know a lot, and that in itself can be overwhelming. Like the fact that you know that there's this thing that you can do. Like I think of how life was like before social media. Essentially, you were exposed to just the world around you, and chances are there's only so much that can happen in the world around you. And I'm sure that kind of helped to some extent to narrow down the things that people want to be a part of and things that people want to do. But now that we've got access to the world, now you know there's a nice gallery in Joburg that you might want to visit. You know that there's a Gold Reef City. You know that people are eating at olives and plates. You know that you know a lot. You know that people are doing this work and that work. People are majoring in cybersecurity. People are doing MBAs, and people are it's a lot. And what this can end up doing in itself, it can be very overwhelming, because you tend to be like, oh, that's nice, oh, that's actually cool, it would be great to do that. And while that's like you mean well, it's not that you are it's not like desiring to do all the things, it's not in itself a bad thing. But then trying to pursue everything is bad, because it's not possible to do absolutely everything. So you need to learn how to say no. You need to set boundaries and be truthful with yourself as to what works for you, what is contributing to the person you want to be it socially, personally, professionally, educationally, what actually works for you and is relevant to the person you're trying to be. Isn't how work like you can't go wherever the wind blows. You need to stand your ground, set boundaries, and say no. Like it is tough to set boundaries for any average human being. But if you do want to be successful and to successfully juggle different aspects of your life, learning how to say no is something that will be very important in that journey. Make use of your downtime. Now, no matter how your day is structured, no matter how your life is structured, you do have some sort of downtime. You can decide, and what downtime looks like. This could be maybe when you're commuting between places, when you are like in between classes, for example. Maybe you have an hour between your lectures or whatever the case may be. Now, there's two ways in which you can make use of downtime. So the first thing would be to catch up on things that you know you need to do during your downtime. This could be like listening to educational podcasts, catching up on work that you have to do, maybe doing a tutorial that you know is due for later in the week, actually scheduling it in that downtime so that you know that it's over and done with, or that you've done a huge chunk of it so that there's not a lot to do later on. And what that can help you do is to free up time for relaxation and to focus on your personal time and your time to relax and actually do stuff that will contribute towards a successful social life. The second thing you can do with your downtime is to do things that will help you build towards your social life. So you might find, like I said, in between lectures you have some time. Maybe you can catch up on a sport that you like, or you can call a family member or meet up with a friend for coffee, or even on campus you can set up a meet up with a friend of yours from campus that you can then be doing social life things during that downtime. This makes sure that in the evening, when you maybe would have then gone out for the coffee, you can zone in and focus and do your work. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about being strategic with your time, where it makes more sense to work more and get things done so that you can free up time to be human later on. Do that. Where it's important or more sensible to do it the other way around, where you know, okay, between lectures, my lectures are usually stressful, it would be great to actually rest during that time. I think what's important here is that we are not trying to be machines. We are not trying to, just be working all the time and all of that. It is important to have a social life. And so just make sure you lock it into your plan, make sure that you plan your rest and that you plan your relaxation. So, and you don't have to plan relaxation in the sense of saying, this is what I'll be doing, this is exactly what I'll be doing. No. It's all about setting aside time and saying, I don't care what's due right now, but I'm going to rest because my body needs to rest. I need to rest, I need to have a social life and so forth. Because as mentioned at the start of this video, it's important to ensure that you are juggling different parts of your life accordingly. Number 4 is a little bit similar to what I just said, which is that you need to schedule time for social activities and activities of rest and self-care. It's important to schedule these. I know people like to use rest as a reward, but don't do that. Rest is not a reward. Like, you shouldn't reward yourself with rest for doing work. No. Rest is, firstly, it's part of being productive. You become more productive through rest. But beyond productivity, you are a human being. And what that means is that you need to rest. Like, no matter how hectic your life is, in order for you to live a balanced life, and whatever balance means to you, you definitely need to rest. So because you know you need to do this, it's just as important to schedule it as it is to schedule work and studying that you need to do, because it needs to be done. So please schedule time for self-care, schedule time for rest, schedule time for social activities, so that you ensure that they do happen. Because one thing about being an adult and one thing about growing up, you realize that if something is not in your plan, in your diary, the chances of it happening is very slim. So sometimes you can end up working more hours than what you intended, or sometimes you can actually end up being in this state where you're not resting, but you're also not working, which means you're not making use of this time in a strategic way. Using time strategically doesn't always mean working. It can also mean resting, but you are resting fully. Like, you are being intentional to say, in this hour, I'm not gonna think about work, I'm not gonna think about anything, I'm actually just gonna rest. What that helps you do is that when it is then time to work, you're actually able to give into the work and do the work that you're supposed to do, instead of still having, brain fog and a tired mind and a tired body and so forth, because you never rested actually. So yes guys, schedule time for self-care and for social activities. Last but not least, stay organized and keep track of your progress. Make sure that as you are doing all of this, that you stay organized, whether it's by having a tidy workspace, ensuring that you review your schedule regularly and you adjust accordingly. Because sometimes you may have a schedule that we think will work, then as you go over it and you try to make it work, it really doesn't work. So then it's important to review and adjust things as and when is necessary. Make sure that you stay organized and that you keep track of your progress. And what this will also help you to do is to celebrate the small wins along your journey. Celebrate the small wins along your journey, guys, because that will actually make the journey worthwhile, and you won't feel like you're just working and pushing without any sort of reward. Because remember, sometimes the journey is the reward. Like, going through the journey itself and appreciating the journey and not being too destination focused is what helps at times to make you not feel overwhelmed. So if you are able to go through your day and do everything that was on your plan, and you've stuck to the timing and you've done everything, it's great to celebrate the small win and reward yourself. Because what that will do is that it will boost your mood and help you. Yes, you have not necessarily reached the final goal, which you maybe might reach at the end of the year when you pass whatever course you're doing. But in this moment, you were able to successfully complete and do what is before you, and that in itself deserves to be celebrated. Alright guys, in conclusion, balancing work, school, and having a social life is not always easy, but it is possible. And what you need to do is to give yourself a best shot by staying organized, having a plan, learning how to say no, and setting aside time for rest and social activities, and prioritizing those just as much as you prioritize your work and your school. I hope you enjoyed this video, that it was helpful for you. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone else that you think will benefit from this video. See you in the next one.